a FaceTime with His Excellency, who asked me, will we make the Crawford fight? And the answer, Boots said to him, send a contract.
The fight between Terence Crawford and Jaron Ennis is now set in stone, and it will happen faster than you think. They both chose to fight, so now everything is set.
He has already said he loves the Terence Crawford Boots Ennis fight. You know, I took him to see him, and he knows he's boxing.
But finally, the fight between Terence Crawford and Jaron Ennis has been named, along with the date and place. At first, the two fighters didn't agree, and Terence Crawford wouldn't face weaker opponents.
I don't care. I just want to fight the top guys, the best guys. They're going to bring the best side out of me.
This past weekend, Jaron Ennis stopped David Avanesian in the 8th round in Philadelphia. Right after the fight, he challenged Terence Crawford, who used to be the undisputed champion.
Send a contract. So Terence Crawford, if he gets past Madrimov on August 3rd, will have the chance.
Ennis did a great job defending the International Boxing Federation World Welterweight title for the first time. In the 5th round, he broke up an Austin and knocked him out with a fast cross. The challenger, who had gained a lot of points, refused to move on to the next round. So his camp told the judge to call it.
If Boots is a world-class fighter.
The fight was stopped 1 round earlier than Crawford's fight with Avanesian in 2022. This will almost certainly be used as a bargaining chip to try to win the fight. Before the 6th round, Boots made it clear what he wanted, and the judge stopped the fight when the doctor in the ring told him to. I was too strong for him, and I told myself that I should have paid more attention to my corner, poked, gotten to that body, and taken more angles. Anyway, it's okay.
And not these guys that's on the lower level. You know, when you fight somebody that's sharp and good like you know.
It was Ennis 27's first time defending his title, and he did better to 32, solidifying his place as one of the best young boxers in the world. He has won 29 fights by knockout. Ennis, who was born in Philadelphia, was fighting after a year off in front of over 14,000 people in the neighborhood. He told me it was okay, even though I felt a little off. I did finish the job by fighting him and beating him in his hometown. That felt great, he said. Ennis said that he would rather fight Terence Crawford, even if it meant he had to gain weight from 147 pounds to 150 pounds for PBS. I want the big names, he said. But he was tuned in and on social media after the fight to talk about what he sees as a change in the plot about Ava. He was criticized for the defense. But now he thinks that Boots has been praised for beating a world-class opponent, even if it was only by his boss Eddie Hearn. Crawford just replied to a fan who pointed out the faster ending. Boots' days as a welterweight are probably over, as Saudi Arabia's Turki was impressed by Ann's performance and said he would like to fight in the 150-pound class in the future. The big home crowd for his newly signed boxer would have made Hearn happy. He called it the best fight in boxing. Crawford will be back in the ring on August 3rd to fight Israel Madoff, who is the super welterweight champion of the World Boxing Association. He wants to become a 4-weight world champion, and this is his first fight at 150 pounds.
A FaceTime with His Excellency, who asked me, will we make the Crawford fight?
In the world of fighting, Saudi Arabia, Turki Thinker, and Ennis all have to step up and do their best. Alex said on social media that Ennis and Terence Crawford, who is the best boxer of all time, should meet soon at junior middleweight. On Saturday, Ennis, 27, of Philadelphia, stopped David Avanesian, 35, of Norton, Cambridgeshire, UK, after 5 rounds. This was his return to Philadelphia. This was his first fight since signing with Eddie Hearn's Matchroom Boxing, and Alec was very impressed with how he did. I just reached out to Boxesyar and Ennis and Eddie Hearn to praise him on his win, and I'd love to see Ennis in a fight with Crawford at weight 150 soon, a promoter said. Eddie Hearn is also sure that the fight will happen, but he made it clear that it will most likely happen in 2025. Hearn said that Ennis's next fight in the fall won't be against Crawford. He said that Ennis will turn 50 at some point, but you don't want to wait to do that. Hearn talked about a conversation he had with a regular person about the possible fight between Ennis and Crawford. Ennis, who was sitting next to Hearn, gave his view with a short response. He then sent the contract and wrote about his conversation with the layman. You can choose to have a co-main event with Dimitri Dill and Artur Beterbiev in October in Saudi Arabia, or we can come back here. That's what I told His Excellency.
Excellency has already said he loves the Terence Crawford Boots Ennis fight. You know, I took him to see him and he knows he's boxing.
There are other stories to think about as well. According to Mike Coppinger of ESPN, Canelo beat Target in a busy fight in Los Angeles in the fall and moved toward a Crawford megafight in 2025. A lot of Crawford's future plans and options depend on his August 3rd fight for the WBA junior middleweight title against the current champion, is real move.
And he knows. But the thing is with Terence also knows, right?
Even so, Ennis is still there, and the Saudis, who are the biggest fans of boxing in the world, are interested in making that possible fight happen. The fight has already been agreed upon, but there are still some problems that could delay it. Terence Crawford is 34 years old, and his days in the ring are really numbered. If the fight isn't made soon, it will lose its importance, and many fans will lose interest.
And he's a pound for pound great. I mean, he's a legend of the sport.
Eddie Hearn thinks that his fighter, Jaron Ennis, should try to unify the welterweight titles before moving up to junior middleweight to fight Terence Crawford, if Bootsy becomes undisputed in the 147-pound division. His next 3 to 4 fights will be world title fights in that division, which would make his fight with Crawford even more out of date.
Tennis. But you've got people now who are champions at 47 that will look now at Boots as their payday.
Crawford is the only other champion in the class, but he is going to move up to 150 pounds to fight Cello Move in August, so the belts will likely be empty. Ennis kept his IBF Welter Championship with 2 wins, and he is now thinking about a possible unification later this year. Hearn thinks that Ennis should try to become from Unify and move up to join Croft's winning division further north. He also thinks that Ennis's next fight could be as soon as 00 on the massive afterbeater against Dimitri Bivol in Saudi Arabia.
Arios, Stanionis. What other fights are they going to be in? They need to be looking for the boot.
Hearn said that unifying the division was the most important thing. He's going to go to 150 at some point, but you don't want to go until you take care of business. His Excellency Turkey Alec asked me, "Do you think Boots would fight Crawford?" I told him yes, but that's for next year. We're going to fight in October or November. If you want, we could go as a co-main event on Beater versus Bivol in October, or we could come back here. Crawford versus Boots at the ballpark, and the fight between Ennis and Avanesian Drew, which has an official crowd of 1,419. The most for a fight in Philadelphia since 14,939 points were required. Get me very excited.
Looking for the Boots fight, for me to pay up, or a site B to pay up, or wherever to pay.
Fans were still waiting in line for tickets at the box office as the 2 fighters walked out into the ring. The event went better than expected, and the promoter thinks that fighting in a packed arena will help him get ready for a fight against the sport's big Miz. A teacher is only as good as his fighter, but a promoter is only as good as his fighter, Karn said.
That's for next year, but we're going to fight again in October, November. And I said to His Excellency, maybe if you want.
The truth is that you need good fighters, a big TV deal, and great fighters. What we saw tonight, I'd love to take all the credit for, and Boots Ennis would too. But no one really expected that. They were waiting in line for his ring walkout there tonight. It was amazing. We've done homecomings before, and it's not easy. I know he thought his timing was off, but it's hard in a fight. You have to be really focused. That was a great experience for him tonight because
Event on Bivol Beterbiev in October out there, you know?
Crawford told Boots that his time would come when asked by Fight Height about a possible fight with the 26-year-old. I've always said that Boots is a great talent, and I've always told everyone that I back him. I've been backing him since he was an amateur in a fight against Gary Russell, Crawford said.
He remind them so much of me, but seeing him, you know, I kind of see myself in him, and yes, he deserved a title shot. He deserved it.
I always backed him because people said he looked a lot like me. But now that I see him, I see myself in him. Yes, he deserves a title shot and everything else he wants. But right now, business is business, and when Terence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. fought, Crawford made history by becoming the first unified welterweight champion in the history of the 4 major belts with a 9th-round technical knockout win over Spence Jr. Following Spence's loss in the 2nd round, Crawford added his own World Boxing Organization Crown Den knockout victory to his list of titles. This was Crawford's 11th straight finish, with 9 of them coming in the 6th round or later. However, this was the most impressive of all of them, as Crawford dominated the fight from the very beginning, dropping Spence in the 2nd round.
Or will it be Terence Bud Crawford?
That was a strange situation for Spence, who had never been dropped in all his great fights. He had been knocked down 3 times by the end of the fight, just like Devin the Dream Haney was when Ryan Garcia dropped him in his first loss.
Back comes Crawford with the jab. Down goes Spence. How quickly that...
Spence won 60% of his power shots and 40% of his swings. And Crawford's 87 hit jabs were the most by a Spence opponent in an open fight. Spence set the rules and put pressure on Crawford early on, while Crawford sat back and picked his moments to counter, like late in the 1st round. Neither fighter had a big moment, but Spence overreached once, and Crawford quickly responded with a strong left hand.
That's the dude I need to fight maybe after the rematch.
Always said.
As expected, the first few rounds were a tough chess match. Crawford liked to start slowly on purpose, while Spence likes to set the pace. In the 2nd round, Spence was able to do just that, using his consistent JB movement and constant pressure to make things difficult for Crawford. However, in the last few seconds of the round, Crawford hit Spence with a great left power jab that made him fall for the first time in his career.
Move up after this fight because he's from a litany of angles. And here comes Spence, though, as Crawford. And down goes Spence.
In the 4th round, Crawford's power really started to show with a big overhand left and a series of brutal jabs. Spence, on the other hand, had an amazing start that continued into the 5th round, with Crawford once again backing him up with his accuracy, speed, and technical counterpunching. In the end, it was just a matter of when the fight would end. Crawford dropped Spence twice more before KOing him in the 9th round.
In the fight, and Spence is hurt. Of the 7th. A big shot! Down goes Spence for the 3rd time in the...
Later, the 36-year-old made it clear that he only wants fights that will add to his legacy before he retires. He said that he wants to fight super middleweight champion Saul Canelo Alvarez. This surprised fans and experts. Errol Spence Jr. went on to become undisputed at 147, and he said he wanted to move up 3 divisions to 168 to fight Canelo for his world titles. The Mexican hasn't been too interested in the call-out, saying he would get no money.
I don't need to take that fight because everybody's gonna say it's too small, it's too small, it's too small, and then, you know, he needs to enjoy his fight.
Still, he has been open that money is a driving factor in his decision-making and won't rule the bout out totally with that in mind. He was asked by Match Hype back in 2022 if it would be a tough match to train for. I think Crawford would be tough to prepare for because he's a southpaw and straight. I think he's a very tough fighter. Canelo then revealed the 2 keys to victory: con and body shots. Just be patient. Prepare myself like always and be patient. Work the body, but I think being patient is the key. Everybody looks for the head, and it's very tough to hit that kind of fighter in the head for his next bout. Crawford will move up 1 division and take on the World Boxing Association. 154 champion Israel Madmafin, a bid to become a 4-weight champion, should have stayed at 147. Ennis was seen as his only rival. The 27-year-old from Philadelphia has turned in a string of eye-catching efforts to bolster his undefeated record to 32 wins, with 29 coming by way of knockout. His latest outing saw him stop David Avanesian within 5 rounds and quickly call out his countryman, speaking to Fight Hub TV late last year about the possible matchup. Crawford's old promoter Bob Arum called Dennis a tremendous boxer, a tough old fighter. He's unbeatable at that weight. I know that for sure. Ennis is a tremendous fighter and has great ability. Whether he would stand a chance with Crawford, I don't really know, because at 147 Crawford is, I think, unstoppable, the same way Shocker is at 135 this.
And a great talent. Whether he'd stand a chance with Crawford, I don't really know, because at 147, Crawford is, I think, unbeatable.
But Ennis is probably Other than Crawford, probably the best welterweight out there. Saudi Arabia's Turki Alik has expressed interest in making the fight at super welterweight, given it's highly unlikely Crawford will be dropping back down in Jaron and his fight this past weekend. He claimed he was rusty, yet he put on a show that brought his name into headlines. Again, the fight started off with Boots showcasing his speed, power, and fluidity, with him feeling so comfortable that he ended up fighting most of the fight right inside the pocket, trading punches and combinations with Avanesian and clearly getting the better of the exchanges in round 1. Ennis was out quickly, firing jabs. Avanesian covering up. Avanesian sneaked in a right, but Ennis was in control early with time. Ennis began working the body and slipping punches. Soon Aonian was caught with a low blow right uppercut, and he was on the ground, and in agony he had 5 minutes to recover, and the crowd was growing restless once it was time. The fight was on again, and Ennis was still on the attack.
Kaur is a prodigy. I mean, I think, he's an unbelievable fighter.
In the second round, Aonian started fighting back. He was now stalking and hitting his mark with a variety of punches and impressive exchanges. Going into the third round, Ennis showed more power and volume, but it was clear that Ennis wasn't going down without a fight. S kept upping the pace even more and fought off the ropes as well. He seemed happy just throwing uppercuts and taking some punches along the way.
We're paying opponent.
In the fifth round, Ennis missed with a big right and slipped. Tanzi landed a big uppercut, and then he briefly hit the canvas. A huge slip and slider here. Avanesian was owing here. Doing his best to turn the tide, Subli went down almost immediately. He landed a punch and ate a bigger one, but he was back on his feet. And more exchanges ensued. The punishing and steady body attack coming from Boots began to take a toll on Avanesian. Non-Boots would then time a nice left-handed counter that dropped Avanesian. In the fifth round, Avanesian would get up from that knockdown, but would have to suffer more sharp punches, while viewers could watch him wincing at some of the body punches. Aonian would make it to the bell in the fifth round, but at that point Avanesian corner saw that he was suffering and didn't have much resistance left to offer and decided to call a halt to the fight in between rounds. And that's all for now. What are your predictions for the fight between Terence Crawford and Jaron Boots Ennis? Let us know your ideas in the comments section for the very best updates on news, moments, events, and actions in the world of boxing. Stay connected with us by subscribing to our YouTube channel. And don't forget to turn on notifications to get notified when we drop great content like this. Until next time, peace out.